Initially, I'd like to welcome Dr. W. John Martin, who is a medical director of the Institute of Progressive Medicine within MI Hope, Incorporated, a nonprofit U.S. Public charity specializing in the study of viruses causing mental illnesses. He received his medical degree from the University of Sydney in '65 and PhD degree, University of Melbourne in 1970. He is a board certified in both anatomic and clinical pathology with subspecialty qualifications in immunopathology and in medical microbiology. Using molecular assays and specialized virus culture techniques, he pioneered research leading to the detection of stealth-adapted viruses. I'll repeat that, stealth-adapted viruses and the alternative cellular energy, ACE pathway. He explains the ACE pathway in terms of a natural energy force termed KELEA, kinetic energy limiting electrostatic attraction. And he has further shown that water and other materials can capture and beneficially transmit KELEA to humans, animals, and plants. A very warm welcome, Dr. Martin from South Pasadena, California.
Well, thank you very much for the very kind introduction, and I'm happy to contribute to this forum primarily by discussing these atypical viruses, stealth, in the sense that they do not engage the immune system. And what that is opening up is the understanding the body has mechanisms beyond the immune system to fight off viruses, and those mechanisms can be brought to play against coronaviruses. The essential research that is now coming into enormous relevance. Years ago, we noted that there were viruses which could cause cell damage in cultures, could give illnesses in animals, and yet did not engage the immune system. So I now put immunity to one side, and what you were saying about more the terrain effect, the ability of cells to resist virus on the other side. What cells need to function is cellular energy. We realized that food metabolism provides calories and energy in that pathway, but the body uses a lot more energy than provided by food. We therefore described an alternative cellular energy pathway, another way in which the body can get energy. That energy is reflected in a dynamic or kinetic activity in the body's fluids. We see it in terms of its effects in water as a loosening of the hydrogen bonds between the water molecules, and the water will also let go of some of the electrolytes like chloride ions in the fluid, which can then be beneficial to the humans. So what we now know, the body has this alternative cellular energy pathway, which can provide protection against viruses. Identified at first because they could protect against these stealth-adapted viruses, but the same pathway can help eliminate herpes infections using activated water preparations, sometimes thought of as homeopathy. There are data, good published data, in eliminating HIV, herpes simplex, papillomavirus. So there is a clear pathway to protect individuals against infections using the energy that can be transferred to activated water. What we also realize now that energy is obtained from the environment, and as you mentioned earlier, I refer to it as KELEA, K-E-L-E-A, kinetic energy limiting electrostatic attraction. The fundamental purpose of this energy is probably, and I say probably, that it is necessary when you have positive and negative electrical charges. They are attracted to each other. That attraction gets stronger and stronger the closer they get, and yet there's no fusion and there's no annihilation. There's a repelling force at the end. So we call it this energy that limits that electrostatic attraction. But in water, it loosens the water molecules, makes them a form of chemical. In fact, it is indeed what chemists have been struggling with, what is chemical energy. And as if one is talking to a basic chemist, ask the basic question, what is chemical energy? They will say it's the energy you can derive from that compound during combustion. If you heat it up, you'll get heat out. And they say, no, not that one. What is the energy when you have linked chemical reactions? A gives B product, and that releases some energy, allowing C to go to D product. There was never a good explanation of that. This KELEA concept ties in with that chemical energy. What makes it then relevant is that it can be put into water, or we now have a nice location in Southern California where from a deep well, the water coming out of the ground is naturally activated. That energy in the water is transmissible to nearby water. You can either add regular water to it and it will become activated, or you can place it nearby to other water, and that regular water then becomes activated. The science is even more interesting. You can use that water to activate gasoline just by having it in close proximity and getting better gas mileage. But this has allowed the placement of that water into what we're calling water-ceutical pouches. And they're being sent to various individuals, not yet in a rigorous clinical trial, but what's encouraging is horse trainers are finding the same benefits of those water-ceutical pouches when they're treating horses post-exercise and illness. So the message that I wanted to convey through this group and other groups is to not simply look at the coronavirus outbreak in terms of flattening the curve, which is where the theme is at the moment, and make it slower, but still the same number of people under either the steep curve or the flattened curve. Rather, make people more resilient to infections using this concept of an alternative cellular energy pathway. People can activate their own energy pathway through the processes in the brain, or if they need it, in terms of water. And to move beyond this coronavirus pandemic, to realize that as a result of vaccines, there has been a pandemic of self-adapted viruses that have impacted humanity in a very big way, but also into animals. And if there's one other concept relevant to this group, the idea of KELEA being a natural force bound by separated electrical charges allows for it to be entering the Earth in conjunction with cosmic rays. So we have protons, electrons coming into the Earth atmosphere continually with cosmic rays. We've got data and experiments showing that electromagnetic radiation, which also creates separated charges, can capture some of that KELEA coming into the Earth. I don't think it's only 5G. I think the enormous million-fold increase in electromagnetic radiation in the upper atmosphere has resulted in less of this KELEA coming to the Earth, that all life forms, not only humans, animals, and plants, get energy beyond food metabolism from this KELEA as an alternative cellular energy pathway, and that the electromagnetic radiation, by diminishing the availability of KELEA to life forms, has had an impact. I'd like to give a small comment about self-adapted viruses, because having those on board probably is impeding people's defense mechanisms, making them more susceptible to coronaviruses as well as other infections. Data now are sufficiently compelling to stop all all vaccines produced in animals for use in humans. The recent data indicating infectious cellular genetic sequences coming into humans from monkeys is essentially reversing some aspects of evolution. There's a risk in producing vaccines in animals of converting some of their cellular sequences into infectious components, and they're not good when they're introduced into humans. Not only that, some of these vaccine self-adapted viruses can act as a carrier of cellular genes, including mutated genes. This has the potential of converting many genetic illnesses into a transmissible infectious illness. These data have been published, but they haven't come into the public health debate yet. In my professional opinion, this is sufficient evidence to stop producing vaccines for use in humans, in animals, and in fact addressing the issue why humans can now carry in their genome monkey sequences. We don't want that. And even monkey sequences have gone into other animals, such as chickens, and so as an unfortunate, unanticipated adverse effect of vaccines. Given the argument that we have beyond the immune system, this alternative cellular energy pathway, and I'll go back to that concept of terrain versus germ, it was very clearly defined as terrain by Beauchamp, being very generalized. What Pasteur did, and immunologists followed, was to narrowly define terrain as the immune system, immune defense. We go beyond that. There's more of a natural energy-based defense that the body has, which comprises, in my mind, a far more effective component of the terrain. What that also means is supporting that alternative cellular energy pathway is an acceptable alternative to vaccination because it doesn't carry the risk that vaccinations, at least the way they're produced using animal cells that can be contaminated with different viruses, using that promoting the alternative cellular energy pathway does not have that risk. The very positive comment I made earlier is that that pathway can be added to using activated, energized, or what I call now accelerated water, but it also accounts for a lot of the positive psychology. In other words, as humans, we're bringing this KELEA energy into the body continually. Probably the brain is a primary receiver, and we have some conscious control over the efficiency of that receiver. So as I see feeling going forward, it's to emphasize the fact that we have an alternative cellular energy pathway different from the energy we obtain from food. This pathway has several unique features, including enhancing higher level brain functions, emotional intelligence, very effective at suppressing unnecessary inflammation in response to tissue damage, and that it can be conveyed using activated water when there's a deficiency, but ideally people can use their brain activity in a manner that will sustain this energy pathway and provide them the resistance to infections. Yes, I'll leave it at, thank you.